How much of a house can you afford? That is one of the biggest questions I get asked. It was a question that I wanted to know for many years until I worked with the lender to figure that out. It can be complicated, but I'm going to give you an easy equation just to give you a ballpark idea of what you can actually afford, because there's a kind of a couple layers to this. But let's start with the simple equation and we'll hop right into it. So we're going to take your monthly gross. So not your monthly net, your actual monthly gross. So let's say you make $90,000 a year, divide that by 12, you're looking at $7,500 is your monthly gross. Now, what you can afford and what the bank thinks you can afford are two different things. So you might be paying $3,000 a month in rent, might have been doing that for 5 years, but you might only be able to qualify for like $2,100 for a mortgage because they look at something called debt to income ratio. Your monthly debts plays a huge part in what you can afford when purchasing a house. And I also want to be clear too what a debt is, and we'll get into that in just a second. But let's get back to the equation real quick. You're going to take your monthly gross income, in this example, $7,500, and you're going to times it by 40%, which we're going to go with the debt to income ratio. It sometimes is 36 to 50%, but I like using 40% just for your ballpark figure. Now you're left with $3,000. So if you have zero debt, no car payment, no student loans, no credit cards, nothing, you can afford up to $3,000 a month for a home. But most people have debts. And what is a debt? A second mortgage if you have another house, if you have a car lease or loan, if you have credit cards, a personal loan, student loans, child support, alimony. These are debts. They're things you have to pay every single month. Don't get that confused with a service. Netflix, your cell phone, these are things that aren't considered debts. Yes, you pay them every month, but it's a service that can be canceled. You can't just stop paying your debt or your car or you'll lose it. So that's the difference. So let's now subtract the monthly debts from that baseline number. So you have $3,000 if you had no debts, but you do have some debts. And let's say your car payment's $400, you have a credit card of $250, and you've got a student loan of $350. Now all of a sudden you can afford $2,000 a month. And if you're like, well, Freddie, I want to be able to afford something more than that. Well, now you have something to work with. You can work in the next month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever you think, to pay off maybe your car so that you can bring that $2,000 up to $2,400 a month, which is a significant difference when purchasing a house. So here is another thing to take into consideration is that it's not that you can afford a $500,000 home. The lender's looking at what you can afford monthly, not just the total number. So what's included in the monthly? Well, here's the other part is it's not just your principal and interest. It's also your property tax. It's also your homeowner's insurance. And in some scenarios, your HOA and your mortgage insurance. If you're in a state like I am, Florida, most of these communities have HOAs, and they can range anywhere from $30 a month to $700 if you're in certain areas. Probably in most places too in the country, if you're in a condo or an apartment, and you're buying something, there's probably an HOA for the community of like keeping landscaping together, and maybe there's a clubhouse or something. But even in Florida, a lot of the houses, a lot of the home communities, and they're nice, but that's something to take into consideration where you can save a little on the monthly. If you're strapped, then maybe get a place without an HOA because it can save you. Now, the next thing that's a variable is the mortgage insurance. So if you're going with an FHA loan, you're going to have a mortgage insurance. If you're going with a conventional loan and it's under 20%, you're going to have mortgage insurance. And that can be a couple $100 a month. So if you have your principal and interest, plus your property tax, plus your homeowner's insurance, plus your HOA, plus your mortgage insurance, that is what the monthly they're looking at. So if your number's $2,000, all of that has to fit within that $2,000 for you to afford that home. If you need a little bit more income, you can have a co-borrower. Ask a parent, a friend, a spouse, or whoever to help you, as long as they're not bringing more debt to the table. You want that $2,000 a month to go up a little. If you have a lender, chat with them, submit all that information, and they'll be able to give you a number for you and all of your details. If you don't have a lender, hit me up. I work with one who's amazing. There's an application. I send you over the app, you upload everything, and within a few days, you're going to know exactly what you can afford, and we can put a plan together. If you're looking for a realtor here in the state of Florida, myself, my wife can help you out. So I got my info in the description. You can click the link or email me, and I'd be happy to help you find a home and answer some questions for you. So I appreciate you stopping by the video, and I'll see you on the next one.